Hello, hello. Good afternoon. It's Celeste of Astrology by Celeste. Yes, it is. On this Venus trine Saturn day, I am feeling myself. Yes, I am. Hello, the Sage Goddess. Welcome, welcome. Hi, Tara and Astro Jasmina. Here, let me, so excited. Okay, I invited you to join so that you can join me for our cosmic conversation about living planets first. There you are.
Hi!
Hi, I am so excited to talk to you today, Tara.
Me too.
Yes, and I want to tell you, I don't know if I told you when we talked before, but I became familiar with your work at Norwalk. I think it was 2 years ago.
Um,
And you gave a talk about how you used tarot with the
yes,
astrology, and it was so amazing. And I want to tell people before I forget, if they are not familiar with your talk on Chiron that you have on, I think it's on your YouTube
yes.
channel.
Yeah,
It is absolutely wonderful. So you can go look that up
thank you.
if you haven't seen it. It's so good. Okay. Well, I like to have people introduce themselves, I've decided. So
Oh,
why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself to
okay. Well,
everyone?
I tend to want to skip that part and get right into the astrology. So, but no, my name is Tara Aal. I have been an astrologer for, I guess, practicing now, 12, 13 years, about that. I'm currently at Sage Goddess headquarters, which is where I work as resident astrologer. So that's kind of my main jam right now. But I speak and I teach and I see clients, and I'm really into the experiential side of it, which is why these kind of conversations are so fun for me. And as you mentioned, I work with the tarot as well. But yeah, that's me. I have a book called Astrology by Moonlight. Celeste, you do all this moon stuff, so I extra I mean, it's so fantastic. But yes, that's it. I'm just a lover of astrology and metaphysics and a human being. Yeah.
Yes, I love that. Where is Sage Goddess?
It's just outside of Los Angeles. So I live in Los Angeles proper, but we're actually in a little city called Carson. It's down in South Bay. Yeah.
Ah, and
hmm
what does Sage Goddess do? What do you sell there?
Well, Sage Goddess is a couple of different things. So we do make and sell lots of metaphysical products, all the way from gemstones and crystals to kits and hand poured candles to custom made jewelry. Yeah, it's a just a little under 100 employees, but it's a big operation. The other side is education, right? So Athena, who is the Sage Goddess, has been for years, and she's actually a professor from university. So now she brings like that along with her metaphysical knowledge here. And so we're all about teaching all kinds of metaphysics. I teach a class here called Living Astrology that's part of our big Living Magic program. So it is a combination of education plus all the tools and the things that really support you in your spiritual practice. Yeah.
Oh, I love it. I love it. Okay, it's going on my list for whenever I'm down in the
Yeah, you got
LA
to come.
area.
You'll come to headquarters for sure. Yeah.
I would love
Yeah.
to. Okay, great. So anyone who's not familiar with me, I'm Celeste of Astrology by Celeste. I do readings, teaching, events, and that sort of thing. And you can click the carrot and father and follow Tara and I if you're not already at the top. So you don't even have to leave. You can follow both of us so that you can see what we're doing here. But we're going to talk about today living planets first, which I'm so excited to hear about this, your philosophy and your approach. So why don't you tell us about that?
Yeah. So I think it was back in 2014. So I've had a number of teachers, right? And I continue learning astrology. As you know, Celeste, like that is the one best thing about it. You will never know everything. There's a huge expanse. But Lauren Albandian and Adam Gainsberg were my two big time initial teachers. And around 2014, Adam Gainsberg had suggested that I try a technique that was more experiential. I felt like I was in my head so much, like just like intellectually processing things. And so he suggested this Living Planets First, which isn't new. right? So some of you may have heard of it, like in the Solar Fire program, you can literally under the house system choose Venus on the first, Mars on the first, Mercury on the first, and it will calculate the chart that way for you. But so I started doing that in 2015. I didn't start living it till 2015, but that's when I did. And it's interesting because one of my friends and fellow astrologers recently just reached out, like just this week, and said, how again did you choose these planets? Which is perfect for this time because it made me go back and sit with it. I chose Venus the first time I ever did this. And let me just say, choosing a planet first is picking a facet of yourself to live through as like the main filter or the main leader in your play, right? Or I sometimes think if all the planets are part of your, I don't know, inner committee, who's going to kind of lead the committee for this period of time? And for me, I was at that time, I think 40, 41. I'll be 49 this year. So it was about that time. I'd been, had a career in healthcare for a long time, right? I was a compliance director and I'd been an operations manager. And I mean, for a long time doing astrology on the side. And I realized I wanted to do more of what I loved. And so Venus seemed like a natural fit, right? To really tune in with that more. Let me just really get into like what feels good. And I also have been married 3 times, none of them particularly wonderful. Not to say there weren't good things about them, but I just didn't well. And I just like, that's been an area that's a whole other conversation. But choosing Venus also was an intentional, like, instead of just letting life kind of come to me, what if I was more active in choosing this is what I want? So I quit that career. I pulled out half my retirement. I kind of reformulated, you know, I got on online dating for the first time ever in my 40s. I hadn't done it before. And that is actually when I met my current partner, who some of you know, I recently got engaged. We've been together almost 8 years, I think it is. It's been a long time.
Oh,
But
wow.
let me say this. If I hadn't chosen Venus first, I really don't think that those things would have happened, because opening that space changed that relationship. And a funny astrology thing is Darren, my partner, has Venus in the 7th house. I guarantee you, if I had led with my more Saturn kind of approach, kind of some of the parts that are more natural to me, if I had not let more of that Venusian side out, I wouldn't have been available to that. So many changes happened for me as Celeste that I was like, oh my God.
Okay, Tara, I cannot believe this, what you just said. Astrology amazes me constantly. Today, Venus in Cancer is trine Saturn and Pisces, and you're talking about putting Venus first, and they're both sextiling Mercury retrograde in Taurus, about how you reframed the way you were thinking in your life in order to bring more pleasure, which is like revolutionary in our society. And it's led you to a more spiritual commitment with a partner after these, 3 marriages that, weren't giving you what you needed. I absolutely love this. What is your sun, moon, and rising sign?
Cancer sun, Aries rising, Leo moon.
I love it. So that's such an Aries rising, I feel like, things to do, like have the courage and like pioneering a whole new path. Okay, there's some comments. Let me check them before we go on.
Bridget is my friend who was literally asking me those questions, and here she is. And yeah, with Venus square the nodes. Hey, this is jumping ahead, but when you think about what planet to choose to live first, we haven't even gotten into like any of like the how you do it, but a planet square the nodes, which in evolutionary astrology we call a skip step. Anything retrograde, anything ruling your chart, anything that's been kind of suppressed or repressed or that you haven't really been able to fully step into, those are great choices because it puts you right into that zone, right? And that's what
let's repeat that. So any planet that you have square the nodes, which brings you up to this crossroads of, do I go high, do I go low constantly? I have Mars and Venus and Gemini square the nodes. So I've had some issues with relationships too. Anyway, I've only been married once though.
Probably more practical than I was.
Yeah, with my Taurus sun. Yeah. So that was the first. A planet square the nodes. Then you said that anything you have retrograde in your chart?
retrograde's a good choice, depending on the type of astrology. So even though evolutionary kind of is my roots, I feel like I'm more non-denominational. So I pull from different things. You know, if you're working with annual perfections, it might be Lord of the Year, like that might be a choice for you if you want to go that direction. Any kind of tough things as well. So I also have Pluto square Venus, right, which is another like invitation to, and I have Saturn conjunct it. So any things like that where you know that there needs to be either a repairing formulation or a reconstruction or a redesign or a re-empowerment, right? Those are just like, in my mind, so perfect to choose first. Yeah.
I love that. I really love that. I love that Lord of the Year because that gives you like you keep changing it. Like start with what
Yep.
calls you. And I'm thinking about, well, as a Taurus, I'm thinking about, oh, maybe I should put Venus first. I'm in a new seeing someone new. So I'm living in a like a delicious
Oh,
time period right now. So
so
yes.
you may have already chosen Venus first and you're just late to the program to actually realize that's what you're doing.
I think so. I think so. Yes. Oh, yeah. Hi, Indigo Muse. Yes, and everyone. Oh, and that kind of girl, Tiffany, who is a Libra rising, I believe, or maybe Libra sun. She's loving both of our looks. Yes. I bet
Oh.
she will put her Venus first. Ah, yeah. Oh,
So
here's some.
while we're talking, so there, Ms. Shar, I don't know if you know who that is in the astrology world, but
Mm-mm.
she and Colin Bedell, I met at the same time. They came to hear me speak years ago, which is funny little history. But she lived Venus first after learning about this, and she then opened a Venus Academy. So
Ooh.
it is amazing sometimes when you consciously choose the archetypes and let them reveal to you. I've continued to do this every year at my birthday since 2015. I have, and I do it. I do it just because every year this whole new side comes out, and I have new choices. Right. Well, what and thinking of Venus first, by the way, Mars rules my chart normally. So think about what a different experience it was. I'm thinking even back with myself to let that Venus part lead.
Mhm.
And you don't really know what that part is like fully until you let it kind of step out in that way. Even my body changed. Right? I know genetics limit things, right? But
Mhm.
I was actually kind of a little too thin before my Venus first year. And I like got curvier. I put on some pounds. I started eating ice cream, which I hadn't eaten in a long time. It was amazing to see, like physically, even how the planets, to the extent they can, they will show themselves to you. It's so cool.
I love that. I love that. Okay. Maybe Venus shouldn't be my choice.
But it may not. This is what everyone says. Well, Tara, I'm not doing it if I'm going to put on 20 pounds. I'm like, you would have to go back and look at pictures of me before. You would have been like, that's kind of bony, right? And
Okay.
right.
Yeah, well, yeah, I love that. And I love like leading with abundance and joy and pleasure.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's a wonderful thing to do. Yeah, especially with Venus going retrograde later this year. Like reframing our relationship with pleasure could be one of the things to do. Yeah.
Absolutely. It's the whole yummy factor, right? Like, do I like it? It's as simple as that. Do I like it? Do I not like it? Does it feel good? Does it not feel good? It doesn't have to be so overly complicated. Not with Venus, anyway. That's not how I receive that energy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Venus is very simple. Does it feel good? No, then
Yeah.
let's not do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I love KJ says that embodying the planets helped them through tough years. So thanks to you. Yeah, and your approach. Yes.
Oh,
Love it. Yeah. Hi, everyone. Ah. Oh, Georgia's thinking of choosing Venus first.
yeah.
Ah, okay. Tiffany's going to embrace her Leo nature because she's so much Venus. Okay.
Oh, and if you're going to embrace your Leo, right, then that naturally the ruler is the sun, right?
Ah.
So natural choice. What does it feel like when the sun takes the lead, right?
And like, so, give some thoughts about the sun being your choice.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. And then we will today. Also, I do like, this is just my passion, right? So I'm not selling something about this, but on my website, I have a lot of free resources for like little tools for choosing the
uh-huh,
different things first if you're interested more.
uh-huh.
But sun first, right? That is the part of you that wants to shine, right? Your essence, your creativity. So I always say when you choose sun first, some of the questions you want to be asking kind of from moment to moment, can I shine here? Do I feel alive, right? Is my essence coming through? Is my creativity coming out? Because with the sun, it needs to be lit up. So you know, if you choose sun first and you come away from a conversation, let's say if we come away from this live, right? And I feel actually, that was, I feel tired and drained. That would mean that my sun wasn't in the groove there. So you can kind of use those measures to say, do I feel full of that light? Do I feel that vitality? And all the other planets similarly, right? So like, what would Mercury want? What would be the Mercury questions, right? Is it interesting? Do I want to learn it? Can I make sense out of it? So, when I chose to live Mercury first, it was interesting. That is when I got my job at Sage Goddess, leading a writing team full time, right? So, right. So how fitting is that?
I love that.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Living Mercury first. Ah, that's a good one too. And okay. So, Anna's asking by chart ruler, do you mean of the rising, the planet that rules your rising or that rules your sun?
Well, either one is a good choice, right? So we say the planet that rules your rising is your chart ruler, but we also, for example, like I'm a Cancer, we say I'm a child of the moon, right? Because the moon rules Cancer. Both to me get equal play. So and let me just say this, how I really choose is more intuitively. I do observe, right? Like, what do I need to bring into my life? But for me, it's more of a gut choice. And we haven't talked about this yet, but the actual chart that you can run when you rotate that planet to the ascendant, I find that to be very helpful and interesting. But what I don't do personally, and not because it's a right or wrong thing, I don't sit and try to analyze that chart right out the gate when I choose the planet first. I actually try to let it come through and feel it. And then as I'm moving through that time, then I pull up the chart and say, interesting. Where did things move, right? Because when you rotate a planet to the ascendant, the signs the planets are in don't change and the aspects don't change, but where things are change. And so, I use the example of me and my Venus first year, that Pluto-Venus square. I felt very different about that square living Venus first from Venus's perspective than I normally did just coming kind of forward with my Mars ruled chart. Same aspect, but different placements, different filter, different feeling around it, right? It suddenly became not as easy to put up with discomfort choosing Venus first, whereas before I could actually kind of deal with a lot of things that were kind of unpleasant and just power through. I got Saturn conjunct Mercury, you know what I mean? I'm just going to get it done. And all of a sudden I was like, oh,
we're not going to do this anymore. And did you notice, like, when you turn the chart, so that put things in different houses, did you see the reflection of the planets in the different houses? Wow.
It's amazing. Yeah. So for you, Celeste, I'll be so curious just for you to whether you publicly or personally, just let me know, what is that when you look at that chart for yourself with that Venus stuff, where do all the other things lie and how do those things get activated? For example, if all of a sudden I work the nodes a lot, if your North node's in a different house, wow. Do you know what I mean? Like choosing that planet first literally gives you a different area to explore that, self-evolution or Dharma destiny, or same with all the other planets. Yeah.
Yeah, I am definitely going to try this. I got to figure out which planet at first, but Venus sounds very good, like I'm already doing, but I'm having a Jupiter year because it's a sixth house perfection year for me. Yeah, so okay. So I got to figure that out, and I will let you know, and I'll talk about it. Yeah. Okay. So, tree loving mama. I feel like once I started understanding my chart and paying more attention to these cues, she actually lost weight. Yeah. That could be. Yeah. So, Jasmina's asking, so choosing the planet you don't feel comfortable with, would that be a good choice to start?
I mean, I always say in life, if you're uncomfortable with something, there's juice there, right? So but it's again, you got to feel good about doing it, right? Even if it feels, I don't know if that makes sense, right? I would say trust your intuition, but yes, something that's been sort of pushed in a closet, it's going to have a lot to bring to the table. And it's interesting to me, choosing a planet first is part choosing to love that part of myself. So, and it can be Saturn. So let's be clear here, right? There is no planet that doesn't have it's equal positive things to bring, even though we're kind of glorifying Venus because it is super yummy, but all the other ones bring their special things to the table. But it's choosing to love that part. And when you do that, at least in me, it shows up in different ways. I can say there was one year I chose 2 planets at the same time. And this actually came because I had asked my partner, and he's not an astrologer, so I had to say, this planet means this means this. And I said, which one do you think I should choose? And through a lot, he was like, definitely not that one. You don't need more of that. You know, like we went through that whole sort of thing. And then he's like, do you think you could choose 2 so you have more balance? Well, that was already a message, you know, to me. But he's good. He's a Sagittarius. Like sometimes it's a little rough, but he brings the truth forward. I chose Saturn and Moon at the same time.
Ah.
And I thought that Saturn would take over, because Saturn is very strong in my chart for a number of different reasons. And it didn't. In fact, what I found between the 2 of them, that Saturn was really very wanting to support my Moon. When I chose them in a different way, I had this, and I'm very like non-gender with astrology, but this is just my own experience. I actually felt my inner Saturn felt more female and my inner Moon felt more male inside of me. And that opened up a whole different kind of, I guess, experiences and conversations with myself around my parents, my experiences around that, and where nurturing meant. And it was amazing. I was like, wow, my Saturn really wants to support my Moon. And I thought for sure it was going to just kind of, you know, going to take over and run the show. But no, not that way at all.
Are they talking in your chart?
They are wide conjunction. No, not wide conjunction. No, semi-square, I think.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
I think that's right. So you're probably faster at math than me. So my Saturn's 11 Cancer and my Moon is 23 Leo.
Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah, that sounds like semi-square.
I think it's semi-square.
I think so. I'm
not. God, my heart, I can't,
yeah. Yeah, interesting. Oh, I love that. Saturn in Cancer and Moon in Leo. And like, oh wow. That's deep. How the messages and the teaching of your family have influenced how you express like a need to be seen and to be validated and all that kind of stuff. That's really deep. Yeah. I love it.
Oh, yeah. And this is why I say to people, it's the thing. I mean, I'm sure I probably won't do it forever, but I cannot overemphasize how much personal growth I've had just from making those choices. And something about just setting the intention, I think, Celeste, is the thing. People almost say, well, how do all those things happen? Even weird things happen to me. Like when I chose Venus first, we drove through a town named Venus in Texas, right? If you pay attention, it's going to show it to you. But there was something for me about just choosing, just saying, hey, come on forward. I want to know you. And that's almost all I had to do. What I mean by this is this is not a difficult practice. You don't have to like, there's not some regimented, homework or whatever. It's literally just, hey, come on out.
Yeah, and it's like ask, believe, receive. You're asking the universe to show me how to live Venus. Another thing people could do if once they choose their planet is use like a tarot or oracle card in the mornings or once a week or every morning. What does my living whatever Saturn or whatever first want me to know today about my experiences?
I love that. I don't think I've done that. Thank you. I'm going to I'm this year for me is Uranus, so it's a little unpredictable. So it's a good year to add the card pull. I think I'm gonna do it. Thank you.
I love that. Yes. And so living Uranus first, how does that, like, what are some questions people should ask themselves? Or maybe we should start from the top.
This is what but with this topic, I feel like it's one of the areas where I get so excited. I almost can't like harness myself down to my normal like PowerPoint style of presentation. So like, oh yeah, let's go back to maybe we start with the moon, right? We talked a little bit, so back to the moon. So, and the reason why I say questions, and I talk about this a lot, but in general, because you move a planet to the ascendant, The ascendant, to me, like with my Aries rising, there are kind of these subconscious questions that your ascendant or rising sign is kind of always asking in every moment, right? And so I've kind of carried that same concept into, if you move a planet to the first house or to the ascendant, what are the questions that it kind of has in this kind of day-to-day, moment to moment? So what are some things the moon is normally asking, right?
Before you say the moon, what are some of the questions the ascendant just in general is asking?
Well, it depends on the sign.
Oh.
Yeah. So like, I mean, I can say mine, maybe you share. It's like for me with Aries, some of the questions are, can I do it? Am I strong enough? Right? Am I enough? Right? Which is why you sometimes find with Aries rising, other Aries placements too, doing things just to prove you can do them, but not necessarily things that you want to do or need to be done. Right? There's sort of this sense of like, I have to show that I can. Right? So whatever it is, I gotta be tough. And if we take Taurus rising, for example, some of the questions is, will there be security, right? Will it become and think, and so moving through, but I find that useful just with my natal chart, not even moving it first.
Okay.
What is that part of you more subconsciously? Because that's very instinctual rising sign, right? Moment to moment, what is it always asking? Cancer rising, for example, am I okay? Is it going to be safe? Right?
That's what I was just thinking as a Cancer rising. Is it safe?
Yeah.
Is it secure?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. My partner has Cancer rising, and when we're walking, he'll grab me and pull me like from the street, whatever. Like, because my Aries rising, I'm just like, man, where I'm going, and he right away. It's funny how you can see those. This is the thing in rising sign, you see it, right? We see it right on each other. Same when you move a planet to the first, it moves to a visible position. So this is really cool to think about if that planet is normally like maybe down on the bottom of the chart or somewhere where it doesn't have as much we'd say visibility, making this choice, all of a sudden, boom, here it's there. And then it becomes then part of those. I say this, your normal, like your rising doesn't go away when you do this technique. Like I'm always Aries rising. Like people always ask, well, but if you rotate it, and now Venus is on the first, does that now mean? I'm like, your birth chart's always the bones. It's the layer, right, that you put on top of it. But an Aries rising through a Venus filter has a really different flavor.
Yes. Yeah, my experience of living Venus first would probably be a lot easier as a Taurus.
Yeah.
And a Taurus sun, Cancer rising. Yeah. I kind of have been living Venus first my whole life. And I love that we're going to talk about the moon first, because I just realized I just had a download that I teach a class called Moon Mastery. And essentially what I'm doing with my students is helping them to live the moon first.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. And this is why, this is why it's no secret. I mean, I've reached out to you for other things, right? Like, not so secretly. I mean, I wanted you on the ESAR board with me. We have hardly spent time together, but I was like, I know, like that lady, like I know I want to work with her. So
I'm talking for ESAR on July 9th.
Awesome.
I'm going to talk about the moon phase family. So I'm really excited about that.
And I think part of that is the moon connection, right? The moon, it moves us in that way. But if we kind of now move back to, if you choose the moon first, right? And we kind of started this talking about Cancer rising because there's a relationship, because moon rules Cancer. But some of the questions then is, do I belong, right? And Venus and moon both want to be comfortable. So, there's some overlap between some of these energies. But the moon too, also, it wants the mystery, right? It wants that emotional connection. It wants to feel those things. It wants to feel. Yeah. And whenever I think about the moon, I don't know about you, Celeste, but I feel like it's like I call it my okay meter throughout the day. It's the moon all day long deciding, is it safe to have this conversation? Do I feel okay in my office? Is it warm enough? Am I okay driving home? It's like this constant check-in, like, is it okay? Is it okay? And so to choose moon first, in a big part, it's kind of coming back to that place, back to your natural rhythms, right? The habits and rhythms and the things that are really kind of in your flesh and in your bones, which for me is part of that moon stuff. It's at its deepest level, it's coming back home to yourself. And I think that's why I love moon work so much, because that's the core of it.
And making the subconscious conscious. Yeah. And like if I'm not comfortable, why not? Like,
Yeah.
yeah, I love
Yeah.
living and working with the moon. Yeah. And it's about your environment. So like
Mm.
your physical body, everything about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's changing all the time.
Well, it's so linked with your nervous system, right?
Mm-hmm.
Mercury too, but Mercury and Moon to me are the most linked with the nervous system. So yes, if you choose Moon first, you should be prepared for more sensitivity. Not
Mm-hmm.
about you should be prepared because you're gonna feel it. Maybe you're gonna feel more in your gut. Maybe you're gonna have more of a hunch. Maybe you're gonna, I point to my shoulders like a different kind of hunch, but you know what I mean, like those
Yeah.
tingles on the back of your neck or on your spine or whatever it is. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
and your intuition.
Mhm.
Yes.
Yep.
Leading with what's not
Huh?
seen, but what's felt. I
Mm.
love that because Mercury and Moon are both
Yep.
communicators and communicating things like the nervous system. Yeah,
Yep.
I absolutely love
Yeah.
that. That's fantastic. Yeah. How about the sun?
Yeah, so we talked about that a little bit, but I really, to me, it is that so where the moon is kind of inner light, right? Which puts, and not that there's not an external, we know there's an external aspect to the moon, but the moon is a lot about what's going on inside my inner world, my lunar landscape, right? We call it sometimes. The sun now becomes about how I am externally shining. And it's also, both the sun and moon are very personal in the sense of linked with self-identity. I think they both have a big part in that. I mean, your whole chart does, but those in particular are very personal. But the sun, is again very much how you want to be shining, how you want to be seen, right? Sun, for example, if the sun rules your chart, you want to put your best face forward, right? That's sun energy. It's like, and there's a certain level of wanting to be proud, wanting to make yourself proud, wanting people to be proud of you, right? Having that presence. So there is a more extroverted energy naturally to sun than there is to moon. And even a little more public, we might say, because the moon very much likes its special people,
Mm-hmm.
you can call it
Yes.
whatever you want. And the sun is more, how can I light up this whole room, right? Or how can I light up this whole world? Maybe is even, a bigger way to say it. But it is, choosing the sun first is really great if you felt that you've had to hide, couldn't really kind of be in your full light, couldn't sort of step out really. I use the word, people say sometimes that Leo and sun energy can be selfish. I say that if that's something that's highlighted in your chart, you need to have a healthy level of selfishness in a good way. Centered in selfness, right, is a better way to say it. Yeah.
I like
Yeah.
that. I like that. Yes, it says the Aries rising to the Aries moon.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Well, we know. I mean, Aries is to me is like it's the be you do you sign,
Mm-hmm.
and I there's a freedom in that, and but the sun in general carries its own flavor of that.
Yes. Yeah, I love that. Be you, do you. I'm going to steal that. Tara.
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah.
I all the time. That's the best way. That's how we all do.
Yes. Yes. Okay. So Mercury, you already talked a little bit
Yeah,
about a few things about
yeah.
Mercury.
So when you're choosing Mercury first, this is a good one to choose. For example, if some of us, let's say that you are extremely intuitive in feeling and you actually realize that you need to spend a little more time thinking about things, or maybe getting things written down, or maybe you want to write a book, maybe you want to actually get something out there that's been in your, maybe you've got all this Sagittarian wisdom right
Mhm.
up there. You need to find a way to funnel it through. That can be a great choice. Mercury, is about the mind. And when I say mind, I don't just mean the brain in our head, right? We don't have no one knows for sure what mind is entirely, but I'm just saying I hold a bigger space than just the logical rational. But there is a logical rational side to Mercury. It wants to connect the dots. It wants to make sense of things, and it wants to communicate. And I think it's Jason Hawley that says, Mercury wants to keep the story going. So Mercury, there's a need for motion. It's funny, both Mars and Mercury, even though there's big differences, they both are moving action, right? Mercury is also coordination. So if you choose Mercury first, you may have to kind of relook at sort of how you've connected the dots in your own life, what your own story is, right? Really
Yes.
paying attention, right? Oh, this has been my story. Is this what I want my story to be? Like maybe I'm ready for a new chapter. But I have found, like, when I lived Mercury first, I needed to be more active. Like there was a literal shift, especially between the Venus to Mercury during
Mm-hmm.
year, I was like, oh, like, and I recognize how a lot of my processing or downloads come when I'm moving. And so it was an added reminder. This is just one of the things that happened for me, and it could be different for everybody. But yeah, some of the questions here really are like, it needs to be interesting, Mercury first. If you're bored, I mean, it's not going to be a happy time with Mercury first. Mercury first needs to be like turned on in an intellectual way, want to be curious, want to check it out, you know. And
I love that.
Multiplicity, we can say I prefer multiplicity over duality for that, you know, that type of energy, and looking at all the different ways that things can come together. Yeah.
I love that. Yes. I'm thinking, well, I do want to write a book. So I'm thinking about, oh, okay, Mercury's up there too. Okay. So where are we going? Oh, Venus. We talked about it, but
Yeah,
just a few.
but we should do it again. We'll just do
Yeah.
it in a row. Yeah, you know, Venus, again, the questions, right? You know, do I like it? Do I love it? Is there harmony? Is there balance? Is there beauty? I always think about Venus first. Like, you just don't want to wear pants that are too tight. Do you know what I mean? Like, that's not acceptable anymore. And if something doesn't, you know, doesn't feel right, if it's not a good fit, you know, you want to change it. You will notice more. Whereas some of the other planets, you know, like Mars can get over it. You know, it's moving, doing its thing, but Venus is like, no, the little details matter. Relationships become more important. So Venus first oftentimes opens the door, and not just with people, although that'd be the first thing we'd say, but it can be relationships in your life, with yourself, and even just your relationship with life as a whole. I sometimes say with Venus, you know, are you fighting life? Are you co-creating with it? Are you just hiding from it? Right? Where is that balance between things with Venus? Venus is also, I tend to be so psychological and spiritual sometimes that I forget, oh, there's just like the core things like money and resources and values. And those are super important when you choose Venus first. What do you value? What's worth it? And where does your value come from? And for most of us, that's a deep dig. I don't care where we're at in our journey, right? There are deep digs in that every time.
Yeah.
So,
Wow. Okay.
Doing what you love, I say, is the biggest thing,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
Venus and Sun have a little bit in common that way, because there is kind of this enthusiasm for, I like it, I love it, right? It lights me up. And think about in the sky how bright Venus is, right? And the Sun, these are bright planets. They want to be lit up.
I am loving watching Venus at night, because I mean, she is just boom, shining her light in the night sky. So I hope everyone like looks up and takes some time to see her light shining over you. Okay, how about Mars?
Yes, but Celeste, if you're here going to choose Venus first, then especially look up. I mean, that's an added. I am so guilty of not looking up in the sky. We get so into the astrology. You will get a whole different infusion if you go outside and do that, if that's going to be your planet first.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I tell people to, look with my classes about the moon, look up, look at the moon. You can see it at sometimes during the day and at night, and watch it through its phases. Yeah. Yeah. So I love that.
Which is something we didn't say. Moon first also was embracing all the phases and all the cycles, right? So that's another thing. Mars, right? Before I jump in, I'll share my little story. When I chose to live Mars first, I wasn't even a week into it. And the owner president, who I report to here at this company, called me in his office and said very forcefully, I need you to start taking the initiative. Like, that is no joke. I wrote it down in my journal. I told him a year later how helpful it was. But at the time, I was like, oh my gosh, you know what I mean? Like, because Mars first it's about energy, initiation, and action. It's acting on your desires, and it's about authentic desire, and it's about having the guts to make a move. I always say with Mars, like, are you taking your turn? Now, there can be a shadow side, right, where you are, overly assertive or aggressive and those types of things. But in choosing Mars first, if you feel it's hard to act on your own behalf, if you feel like, I don't know, you just kind of let other people kind of run over you, or you have a hard time standing up or defending or really just being strong and, hey, this is me and I want to do it this way. Mars is amazing that way. That champion, that inner warrior, I prefer the word champion, but they're both very true here. It comes out. And You will find, though, if you choose Mars first, like I did, and like other people I have talked with, you will find yourself in situations where you have the opportunity to stand up more, to choose what you want. Even if it's in traffic, am I going to go wait for 10 million cars to go through? Like, those are little moments. I'm not saying what's the right choice to make, but you know what? Maybe I need to go. Maybe it is my turn. Maybe I hit the gas instead of, letting life just sort of come into my lane nonstop without ever holding my space, because that's kind of a Mars thing, right?
Yeah. Yes. And where's your Mars in?
It's in Leo, conjunct my moon.
Ah, okay. Yeah, I love that.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So I have a lot of Mars energy in me. There's no question about that. But, and I share this oftentimes, I also have Chiron and Aries in the first house. And even though I can be very confident in certain things, there have been other things throughout my whole life I've really struggled with physically making the first move. Like dating, for example, horrified to make the first move, right? Or when I was younger, I would really want to dance, right? But, I'm not going to do it because people are going to laugh at me. So, or sport or things. And it wasn't even that I was bad at those things. I had this fear of performing, which stopped me from doing things that I wanted to do that felt good. So choosing Mars first, to kind of wrap it into that, it can help you get in that space, even when it's scary, to still have the courage to say, I'm afraid and I'm doing it anyway. Because I don't want to walk away from this event and say I didn't dance when I sat here at the chair, wanting to for the last 45 minutes. Yeah. Mars, go do it. It's okay to be scared.
Yes. And it's like, it's so empowering when you do something you were scared to do.
Yeah.
And then when you're done and you're like, yay, I did that. I don't know if that's just my Aries mood. But...
Oh, well, it's me too. So there's two of us.
Yes. How about Jupiter? Okay. I'm thinking about maybe doing Jupiter.
Yeah. Well,
yeah, because Jupiter going into Taurus, and it's my ruler of this year. I love it.
Yeah. I kind of like that for you. I mean, I feel like in some ways, I think you are already doing the Venus. Not that it wouldn't be beneficial, but Jupiter, right? Part of the question is how can I? These are just words that we all know, but how can I expand? Where is there more growth? How can I open myself up to more opportunity? So Jupiter first is very interested in in the bigger concepts, right? It wants to know the bigger truth. So if you're someone who gets stuck, I mean, like I can't, in the little details or overanalyzing symbols, we're like right here. Jupiter's great because Jupiter's like, get out of the weeds. It's like, let's look at the bigger picture. And Jupiter's less about adding all the little bits together to explain, what the whole thing is. And it's more about understanding the whole thing that gives meaning to the little bits and parts and pieces. But Jupiter also is about confidence and intuition as well, right? It's king of the gods, if you will. So when you choose to live that first, you may find that big opportunities are there for you to step out. Stephen Forrest always says, wherever Jupiter is, the question is, how have you underestimated yourself? And so I love that. I carry that all the time. I probably repeat that at almost every client session I have, because it is such a good question. And with Jupiter, in the tarot, it's the Wheel of Fortune, right? And to be fortunate or to be lucky, you have to be available for life. So Jupiter will pull you out. It could be travel. It could be foreign experiences. It could be any kind of unknown situation you put yourself in. So you can find yourself in a new context, and that shifts your whole, understanding of truth or meaning, or all these things that are also very linked. Now, Celeste, you would probably say, hey, what is about wealth and abundance? Yes, that's part of Jupiter too. Are you willing to accept that you can be lucky and you are abundant and you are enough and you can do more? These are all very Jupiterian things. But so is kind of a visionary side. We sometimes in modern astrology give this more to Neptune, but it's equally Jupiter, right? It links with the sky for me. So that vision, if you want to expand intuitive gifts, I'm saying Jupiter gives all day long if you are open to receive the blessings. That's
I am open, and it is done. I am selecting Jupiter because it's getting ready to go in my 11th house of good fortune, and yes, this year. So yeah, it's the perfection year. Okay, I'm doing it, and I do sometimes hold myself back, think small, get too lost in tactics, and need to focus on the expansion. Yeah, I love it.
And you said it's in the 11th house, right?
Natally, I have it in the 4th, but I have Taurus on the 11th house
So
cusp.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So that means that's good for all of us. I'm just saying selfishly, I would love you to choose that because that's good for all of us. Yeah, do that.
Well, it's done. It's done. I made the decision. Yes. Okay. Now, how about Saturn?
So Saturn, which is interesting. Saturn gets such a bad rep so much of the time. At least I feel this way because I feel I have a very good relationship. I love Saturn in my
Me
life.
too. I have it on my son, so I have no choice but to develop a relationship with Saturn.
Yeah. So with Saturn though, it is certainly, there is a certain level of responsibility, accountability. If you have found that you've struggled to actually follow through and have the discipline to make your dreams happen, right? Or do the things that are important to you to manifest something in your life, Saturn is what you want. That's what you want to choose first. But it also helps you step up and be in charge of your life. I feel like Saturn is always an invitation to be more autonomous or sovereign, whichever these words are, right? It is like get in the driver's seat. It's interesting. People talk about Mercury as being like our reality structure, which I agree because perception is how we look at things. But Saturn is literally the whole structure we've made kind of ourselves and of our lives. So when you choose Saturn first, and if you're open to it, you can redefine reality, right? Saturn is linked with reality.
Yeah. Yes,
But
I love that.
yeah, but Saturn, it's serious business, right? So you choose Saturn first, you're going to be getting to work on something. And unlike Jupiter, that you can like sometimes just do a little and get a lot in return, Saturn requires consistent effort. Like the rewards come through that. Some of the questions that Saturn might ask, though, is someone in charge here? Is something actually going to get done? You know what I mean? Like these are the types of things, right? Are we going to ever get down to business, or are people just going to be up in the air talking about things all day long? So these were some of the things that come through. And Saturn also is, it's about safety as well. We talked about the moon wanting to feel safe and secure, but so does Saturn, right? It wants to know that the bottom's not going to fall out. And so sometimes, if in our lives we have a metaphorical porch, that's rotting, doesn't have to be your actual physical, but I mean, anywhere in your life, Saturn helps you shore that up and say, you know what, this isn't going to hold me any longer, right? So I need to build a different structure, whether it's mentally, whether it's emotionally, whether, wherever level it's on. Maybe it is your actual porch, right? Because if you need to actually get some things done on your house, Saturn first could be really effective.
Yeah, and Lauren is saying she's got Saturn on her Mars right now. That's a big one.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, and then Sun, and then the Saturn opposition, a huge life transit. So Lauren might want to put
Lauren, it's so cool though, because Saturn on your Mars, to me, part of that is about redefining how you use your energy, right? And that can shift everything. And someone once told me when I was going through my Saturn opposition, be careful what you choose right now because it'll be with you for a while. And that actually served me quite well. So when you have all that Saturn activity, Celeste, to your point, choosing that planet first is just like, it's like an invitation to really work with it. And so oftentimes, even though there may still be challenges, I'm not in any way saying it takes away the things we need to grow, but we tend to be more in flow with it. So if I'm attuning with, Saturn actually wants this, Saturn likes this, Saturn's asking me to look at this. If I'm proactively doing that, those transits are going to be different for me than if I'm like, what the heck, where did that come from? It's like, I actually probably need to really reconsider my commitments here. That's what Saturn would want from me. And Saturn's not outside you, it's you, right? That's the part of you, right? Who's in charge?
Mm-hmm.
Who is the authority?
Yeah. Yeah. And the chocolate has TLC chocolate has Saturn on Mercury. So it could be a lot about like reframing how you communicate. Wow.
And your perception, literally.
Perception, yeah.
The story you make up every minute, like the story you're making up now of what it means that we're saying, right? The story you make up when you have an encounter with, I don't know, your partner at home, right? That's so much, because Saturn is always about redefining on some level for me. And if it's not stuff, communication, 100%, I'll say the same, but also just how I look at it, how I connect the dots. Celeste said this, it means this, right? That's a very, does it really? You know?
I love that. I also, with Saturn, I think mastery. Maybe there's something you want to master that year that you do Saturn first. Okay, Uranus.
So Uranus is really about liberation, right? So part of the questions is like, is it authentic enough? Am I free to be me? Am I going to be stuck in some old structure or old rules that I don't want to be in? Because Uranus wants out, right? It wants innovation. It wants progression. And it actually is fine as an archetype with unpredictability and chaos. So when you choose it first, you know, like I did this year, you are opening the door to letting things be shaken up, letting the floor become the ceiling, you know, all these different things we talk about, so that it can come back in a way that is more authentic. To me, it's about awakening, yes, but authenticity is so, for me, at the core of Uranus. Yeah.
Ah, yeah. And it's so funny. I was just reading something about Uranus this morning. I pulled the aspects in astrology, but
Mm.
by Sue Tompkins off the
Mm.
shelf. And she talks about how Uranus is words that start with UN, unconventional, now I can't think of
Well,
anything else.
undone, undone, literally, right?
Undone, yes.
These things like where it's like, okay, you know, it's like it's not the principle of holding tight, right? It's letting it actually like
Uncover. Like, what are you uncovering this year as you take that fool's journey
yeah.
with Uranus being living Uranus first? I love it. Okay, Neptune. Oh, I don't know if I'd ever want to live Neptune first.
Oh, well, I did, but I don't want to like, I mean, and there was loss for me that year, but I don't think that brought that. I think that just brought my more attention for me to be open to it. Neptune to me is about opening up, well, spirituality, but I hold that very loosely. So whether that is nature for you, whether that is like just like the combined energetic field, like it doesn't have to be like a god or a thing. So when I say that, it's just connecting with something greater. To choose Neptune first, though, is to like literally plug in to that connection with divine inspiration or the field of energy, however you want to look at it that way. But Neptune also, this is the big one. This was the hardest thing for me, because I got Pluto in the 6th house. Like I want to like improve the process and I want to fix it. And I always find the problem. Like we joke here, you know, I also am a manager a marketing manager here. I'm the person who finds all the mistakes. So, you know, that's great for some people. Other people hate me for it because I'm continually ripping things apart. You know,
You got that Mercury Saturn.
it's rough. Like, let me just tell you, like, there are nice things about working with me, and there are times where I have to pretty much say apologize in advance. Like, anyhow, let's not go too far down that road. Neptune is accepting things as they are. It's that it's okay. Nothing needs to be fixed. Nothing's broken. Nothing's, you know, like there's not a problem. Neptune is allowing what is. And so for
The surrender, the hanged one card in the
it
tarot.
is.
Yeah.
And the hangman card is so awesome because in Norse mythology, right, that's Odin, right? And so Odin's caught up in the world tree for those 9 nights and can't get out. His horses and his ravens can't free him. He finally just submits. And when he submits, that's when the magical runes come to him. So that the lesson through Neptune is when you surrender, when you let go, when you're willing to soften's such a good Neptune word. Even soften our sense of self. In that card, by the way, the Hanged Man, in some decks, like in the Thoth deck, Crowley deck specifically, the face of the Hanged Man is fuzzy. Because with Neptune, the sense of self starts to evaporate, starts to almost fade away. There's less of a connection with the ego self and more of a connection with something greater that doesn't have this like, here's Tara's face, you know, right here in the screen, you know, with something more underneath. So
Yeah. Oh, I was trying to find it I've got a deck right here to show the Hangman.
Well, why you keep looking?
Oh, here it is.
Oh yeah.
This is the Modern Witch Tarot, and so she calls it the Hanged One.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah.
Yeah. I love that. Okay, so Anna had asked, does anyone put Pluto first? So, yeah, because Pluto brings up so much fear in people. What do you have to say about putting Pluto first?
I haven't done Pluto first. I don't think it's out of fear. I will tell you, actually, I did do Jupiter one year, but that was the one that actually terrified me. It depends on your chart. I have Jupiter retrograde square the nodes, and it's the ruler of my north node. So there's a lot of Jupiter stuff for me that I was like, I wasn't touching that with a 1,000,000-foot pole for a long time. I was like, that container is too big and I'm not going there. So I did a lot of other years first. Like for me, I actually think Pluto probably would have been more comfortable to me. Although I did experience a lot of expansion, particularly in my career, in my Jupiter first year, by the way. It was actually tremendous. But Pluto is just choosing change and evolution, right? Which most of us just don't like at some level. Even if we say we do, you hit us in the right spot and we're like, well, never mind. You know, that part's just okay how it is. So Pluto, it is at the deepest, even down to the cells, right? In our body, it's that transformation energy, but it will always ask of us to confront our limits, to confront the ways that we have kept ourselves out of our power, to confront our deepest emotional attachments, right? So it's not easy, but imagine the growth that would come. I'm saying I haven't done it yet. I will. Imagine the growth that would come if you are on board with that deeper soul intention to truly evolve and shift and change. But I would imagine it could be intense, right? In the same way that for me in this Uranus first year, I did have some, like, I won't get into specifics, but I had a couple of months that were kind of crazy. They were up and down. I didn't know what to expect. There were some changes. I would think something was going to totally end, and then it was working out, and then I finally reached a place where I couldn't do anything but find a peacefulness. And I think, you know, both Uranus and Pluto can be linked with, and I'm not using this clinically, but linked with trauma, like that type of energy in us. And both of those can open the door to it. But it's all about your perspective with it. Yeah. I think if you need to shift something big, if you need to really eliminate something you've held on to, maybe even for lifetimes, right? Who's your ally? Get in there.
Yes. And Pluto can be healing too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, so if someone's suffering with a health problem, do you think putting Pluto first could maybe help?
And you know why? I mean, you're probably thinking the same thing, but the first house is so much our health and identity. It's literally on yourself. So put a planet on the first, I'm saying it has a physical effect. So if you want that transformative, regenerative energy healing from Pluto, putting it right on yourself is an active, conscious choice or intention to say, I want that part of me to be transformed. And that's, you know, we might say the magic happens, but to me, it's not actually magic. It's just tuning into what's always available to you. But oftentimes we look at it as something separate. Bringing something first brings it right with me. Yeah. Oh, and like someone was mentioning here that you've got Pluto in your first house. Yeah, that's extremely intense, right? So you know what we're talking about. But that healing crisis that's necessary, that's very much a Pluto process, right? Sometimes things get a little harder first. I always say, to me, you know when you're on the edge of really changing, when you have those last efforts to really hold on to something, right? Even like an addiction, and it doesn't have to be something super serious, even just like chocolate, for example. I eat a lot of chocolate. If I am going to try to shift that, there's going to be a period where I'm going to want more and I'm going to really dig in, right? And that doesn't mean that we're going backwards. That means there's a test. There's that power struggle of, hey, I'm actually this close to the fence to step over, and what am I going to do? So, but to me, Pluto can bring those experiences up more intensely in your life. So just being aware if you choose it. But yeah, I think if you need to heal your body, as you say it, that actually makes me extremely excited to choose that. Maybe I'll do that next year. I haven't done it. My birthday's coming in July. Maybe that'll be my planet.
Oh, I love it. I love it. Yeah. And Georgia mentioned when Pluto crossed her ascendant, it was the hardest and most intense year, but she's most grateful for it above all else. Yes, Pluto crossing your ascendant can be so uncomfortable to get used to, but absolutely empowering for people. I'll never have that. I had the Pluto cross my descendant though, and that was, wow, intense. Yeah.
Well, mine's been in my 10th house for a nice little jog now. So that's where we can have a big long Pluto conversation. It's intense wherever it is. But yeah, that first house with Pluto, even how we knew ourselves to be, right? If you put Pluto there, or transiting Pluto goes through, even really powerful Pluto aspects in general, right? That can, the feeling of like, wow, I don't even recognize who I thought I was before, right? There's a complete unearthing, right? Or rebirthing. alchemizing. Maybe that's another good word to use, right? You totally re-alchemize yourself, which means you don't lose any parts. You just put them in the alchemist pot and they come back together a different way. So, yeah.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. Well, this has been so fascinating. So I could talk to you for hours about this, but we're at the top of the hour. Oh, do you have time for one more question before we? Okay. So, Cosmic Cousins is asking about what about Pluto over your sun? What do you think about that? That's yeah.
I think that right now Pluto's opposing my sun, so I think if you're having Pluto on your sun, that I feel you right now. It is asking to me, Pluto on the sun, it's at the deepest level how we have self-identified, what we've seen it felt is our purpose, and there's something about that that is dead weight. It's not really who we are, and it's not what we're here to do. But that transformation can be, as Celeste, you were saying, difficult, and also it can zap your vitality, right? Because the sun is very much as vitality. So Pluto on that energy can make us feel tired, but that can be a good thing, because if you get tired enough, sometimes you actually do something different. My suggestion always is, though, don't let that go on too much, because that can lead into, well, now I need to get sick to try to get myself to change right now, because that there can be a very physical effect with the sun to me. But like the rebirthing of this like passion for living, and here's what I'm here to do, and here's the core essence of what I feel is me, the renewing and rebirthing of that can literally feel like a new lease on life. Like that to me is the super powerful side of it, and to be an agent for change. So pay attention, even though it's you having to go through the stuff too, it naturally makes you an agent for change in life for other people. It can be super powerful. Anything, you can change. That's the thing. It's the proof. Pluto like comes through tough, but you can do it.
Yes. Well, people loved this conversation. There's so many great comments. Yeah. So to wrap it up, do you have anything coming up you'd like to let people know about? What's your website? Are you going to be at NORWAC? These are questions.
Yeah, I am speaking at NORWAC about Jupiter. So that's my talk, and super going to geek out on that. My website is just taraal.com, TARAAAL.com. And on my website, I have resources. I also would love feedback. If you work with planets first, I would love just to chat with you. And if you're willing, that is going to be probably the next book I write. And I want to incorporate people's experiences, real life stuff. So I'm always keeping this little list of people that are willing to share what they do. This year, as I mentioned, my full-time gig is here at Sage Goddess. SageGoddess.com/Living Magic is the program. And I lead, so the program is 4 classes a month, or you can just take the Living Astrology class. I lead the Living Astrology class with Athena, the Sage Goddess, and we go through monthly transits, and then we pick one deep dive, right? So this month, for example, we actually did a deep dive into Jupiter, which was, super fun. So that's my thing, right? I'm in this space for now, but I'm always working on something, but what has never come out of my view is planets first. So you can be pretty sure that I'm going to continue pursuing that, as I think based on the comments here too, you can see how it brings a life to astrology. It brings a human, how would you say it, Celeste? Like it brings a heart or a life to it in a way that sometimes I think we get so into here's a trine and a quintile, and you know what I mean? Like
yes. Yeah.
So.
Okay, so I've got to let you know, Anna is convinced she's choosing Pluto first instead of bad-mouthing him. And Yasmina is saying it's her birthday in a couple of weeks, and she is going to choose one for sure. Awesome. Yes. So I'll post this on my wall, as well as invite you to collaborate if you wanted to go on your wall as well. And then people can comment what they're choosing first, and and like if they're interested in, they can get in touch with you if they're interested in being part of it. But I'm choosing Jupiter, and I'm very happy to let you know how it goes. Awesome. This has been fantastic. Yes. So thank you everyone for joining. You can again follow Tara or I, if you're new to me, at the Carrot, and check out both of our offerings. And have a beautiful rest of the day. It's Venus's day. Venus is trine Saturn. What lights you up that you want to commit to? And yeah, what are you reframing with the Mercury retrograde? Is talking to both of them from our conversation today. I love it.
Thank you, Celeste. It was such a pleasure. Bye, everybody.
Bye. I'll see you in
Yes.
person in Norwalk.
Yes.
Can't wait to meet you officially.
Bye.
Bye.